Is the Sony A80L WRGB OLED the most overlooked TV of 2023? Let's discuss.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me. Why do I think the Sony A80L WRGB OLED from Sony is the most overlooked TV of 2023? I simply overlooked it myself. It was delivered about 3.5 weeks ago. I was there to unbox it, do a video on it for you guys, and then the X95L was delivered. I was then compelled to shoot that and then neglected the A80L, which was a mistake, and I'm here to rectify that for you guys today. Now, another reason I think it was neglected a bit is Quantum Dot OLED from Samsung has released in 77 inches this year, as well as LG and their micro lens array technology also at 77 inches, taking some of the thunder away from new WRGB OLEDs from Sony as well as LG. We also have the A95L Quantum Dot OLED from Sony. It's a Master Series, the only Master Series this year that is releasing at the end of the summer or early September. Having all of that hovering around, the A80L kind of fell through the cracks. No one really paid a lot of attention to it. And as I mentioned before, I believe it was a mistake. Not only is it excellent, looks excellent, sounds excellent, has amazing picture quality, but you get that Sony processing that so many of you love, including myself. Not to mention that it's the only 83-inch Sony OLED since the legendary A90J. Now, the A80J at 77 inches, which I have upstairs, kind of surprised everyone when it was released. The AAH and other Sony OLEDs were limited to 55 and 65. A80J came out at 77. Everyone loved it. It was a very good value. A80K released behind it. Same excellent value, slightly better, but we were lacking an 83. This year, we do have an 83-inch, which I could have shot. I did shoot the 77 for this video. I'll return to the 83 as I may do some comparisons against the 83-inch A90J. I do think the A80L WRGB OLED is excellent, and let me show you why I think that. All right, guys, let's go over the build quality and design. It is a very minimalist design like many Sony WRGB OLEDs. This is the 77-inch A80L. Nearly bezel-less. We do have a black bezel. I'm glad it's not silver. Like many OLEDs designed this way, you do have the thin top with the chunky bottom. Again, very minimalist, nice design. Great build quality of the honeycomb back, which Sony is famous for. On the other side, we do have the inputs. We have 4 HDMI inputs in total, 2 full bandwidth HDMI 2.1. We are also on a Santa stand, not on a stand that comes with it. The stand that comes with it are the legs, which can be on the inside, outside, so narrow and wide. They can also be elevated to make room for an accompanying soundbar. Here we are going into some demo material. I apologize that we are in a very bright room. Special thanks to Value Electronics in Scarsdale, New York. Please consider making your next AV purchase through them. Let them know that I sent you. I apologize, I was there very early in the day. It was extremely bright. It does show that it's pretty good at handling glare, but the entire video will be in a bright room, so I do apologize for the reflections. What I will say right off the bat, and I mentioned this in the intro, I was not particularly excited about reviewing or spending time with the A80L. As much as I like the A80J and the A80K, like many of you, I felt it'd be very samey. Then I sat down with it for about 5 hours, watched movies on it, played video games on it, and I was struck by the detail, by the three-dimensionality of the image. Even in a bright room, the detail really caught me. That processing isn't just marketing with Sony. It's something they do really hang their hat on, and something they do improve each and every year. The detail is staggering on the A80L. Now, as I'm going through the presets, just showing you how the image looks differently, it does ship in standard. We'll spend a lot of this video in custom and in cinema. Simply showing you what the TV ships in and going through the different settings. Many of you are familiar with a lot of these settings here. But again, they're processing that detail, that XR clear. It does make a big difference. It does set them apart from the other two, or the big three, which they are part of, and further apart from the Hisenses and the TCLs. Excellent build quality, excellent sound quality, which we'll show you later in the video. Special thank you to our good friend Jennifer Gala for her amazing demo material, her and the HDR Super Channel. Please check her out in the description and like and subscribe to all of her amazing content. Now, as we go through the settings here, the one big addition, though it's been here for years, is reality creation. Been around for a very long time. I typically avoid it as it does create noise and aliasing in the image. I will say that the processing improvement has clearly made that to where you can nearly max it out and not have any issues with extra noise or macro blocking or anything like that. So you're able to really push it. If you like reality creation, you're definitely going to love the implementation on not just the A80L, but the Sony TVs this year. Now I'm going also into this next demo, which is an SDR demo. It's a Samsung demo, which I'm showing you here how natural the Sony can look. However, you'll hear me talk a lot about flexibility of image. What's the headroom? Sony gets painted with the brush of accuracy. That is their signature. However, as you see me go through the image, you can see how saturated the A80L can look. It is very bright. It is very punchy. It does not look flat. At times, that realistic image can at times look dull to those that aren't chasing that signature. However, I was very impressed with the A80L's ability, and as I mentioned, flexibility of image. You can make it look as saturated or cartoony or poppy, vibrant, and then bring it back to that director's intent, which again is Sony's signature. Now we'll also momentarily show you, or at least try to display, the sound quality. Sound quality on the A80L is excellent. We can actually make this very saturated demo look more accurate and then make it more poppy. And even in this bright room and staying in custom and in cinema, we still have this very vibrant image. Doesn't look flat, does look very three-dimensional. No motion issues at all in any of the content that I was checking out. I was very pleased with it, and again, very pleased with how it behaved in a very bright room. As I mentioned, I'm working on another comparison where the A80L will go against the A90J, hopefully at 83 inches. Let me know if you're interested in that comparison. Again, we'll do that at Value Electronics. But I found myself thinking, I'm not really into filming this, and then I was actually pretty blown away by it, and I definitely recommend it. And I will say about Sony, it's one of those things where you can literally set it, let it do its thing, and you don't have to change it. And I'm going to move into Vivid for those of you that love Vivid and bright, just to show you how bright it appears. I didn't feel plagued by any dimming. I also covered gaming later in this video before we move into the sound. But Sony is that company where you can literally set it on a preset and not really have to change it. It is very flexible that way. You don't have to always reach for the remote. Whether it's in cinema or custom THX mode, you can actually change it quite a bit and then even leave it if you'd like. Now we're going to move into Jennifer's sound demo here. Now, as we begin the gaming portion on the PS5, quickly to touch on the sound. It sounds fantastic by itself. It actually has bass and almost no distortion, even at high volumes. It also can be paired with a corresponding Sony soundbar or the HCA9 system, where the screen is used as a center channel. That came out a couple of years ago. It's only getting better every year. Very impressed with the sound quality. As we move into the PS5, now I was very excited to see gaming on the first Sony OLED of the year, as I did show you this on the X93 and the X95. Though I like the game mode, there wasn't much flexibility of image on the LEDs. Now here though, being with the micro contrast of the A80L, the image is much improved and is more three-dimensional just by having the contrast ratio of an OLED. Now it's very, very vibrant. I will go through the settings in a moment, but then keep in mind we are in a bright room and it still looks this good. They've come a long way with gaming by adding a game bar. I do appreciate the effort, however they are still very much behind LG and Samsung in this regard, but I do appreciate them adding this. Going into the remote, bringing up the game bar. You have your VRR on and off. You also have a motion blur black frame insertion type, which I do not love. I can see the flickering, but I am more sensitive to it. It didn't show up much on camera, but you can see that you have the crosshair, which you can also change here. I would like to see them add presets that you can save, like both LG and Samsung. But again, their image is also stunning. But I love the flexibility of being able to save different presets. That way you have them. Black equalizer, I'll show you that again in the settings. That's if you want to see an opponent. It definitely makes the image way too washed out. Now I'll say that I never had a real big issue with the A80J dimming, or the A80K for that matter. Some people are very sensitive to it. I did not see it happen in all the games that I played and the time I spent with it. Does it happen to protect itself? It may, but not at a distracting point for me anyway. Now going through the game settings, I will say I do like the way the game mode looks, especially on the A80L, very vibrant. But I will say what I've said before with the mini LEDs, is that even changing a lot of these settings don't really alter the image that much, in gaming anyway. I would like to see them bring back dynamic contrast in the menu, because I do think in gaming you do want more flexibility of image, even if it does increase the lag. Even the HDR tone mapping doesn't look much different unless it's disabled. This may change throughout the year. You can see the difference, it's just not night and day as you've known with other companies, but it does look fantastic. Black equalizer, again, not something I would use unless you're in a very dark environment. Screen uniformity is also excellent. Very little problems with banding or anything like that. It looks great. Now I'm going to spend some time here also on not just live color, which I do like the feature. I would like to see this be stronger, but you can make the image look more saturated by bringing the color up. More flexibility than it is on their mini LED lineup, I think, simply because it is an OLED. Again, depending on the game, if accuracy is something you want versus making something look as saturated or more cartoony, depending on the game. But where I was very impressed, and I'll try to display this for you, is reality creation. Now, in something like the Z9K from last year being 8K, when you push reality creation, it would create noise. Even as far back as the 900E LEDs, 900F, 950G, 900H, 950H. The harder you push reality creation, the more you'd see a lot of, again, noise or aliasing in the image. Did not see that here. I'll try to display it for you. It's going to take me a minute or so to walk around this area, and it may not even show up on camera as much as, or in the video as much as it did for me on camera. But I was able to really max it and get close to these leaves, and they were just cleaner. They popped more. So reality creation is something I typically do not use. However, seeing how it behaves here, I would definitely use it. I'll zoom in so you can actually see it. But for gamers, especially on a PS5 or a Series X, where you're not getting native 4K, reality creation is something that you may think about using. Anything to clean up an upscaled image. I hope that showed up for you guys, but I was very, very impressed with it. You'll see it here. As I toggle it on and off, it just doesn't create the noise it has in the past. Again, this is not something I've used much. Back in the day, I would easily use it now. Now we're going to leave off with Days Gone. The reason, actually, we'll do a little Call of Duty, as a matter of fact. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Feels very snappy. We are playing on live multiplayer here. I do play with a wider FOV, so it does look faster than many of you may be used to, but you can see there are no issues. And the image does look great. Even in 120 Hertz, which doesn't typically look great. Again, as it's not on PC, we are here on a console. Very snappy, very responsive. And again, you have that sound. You actually don't need a soundbar for this TV. It's not amazing in regards to where it'll take the place of a soundbar, but it's very good. I wouldn't say you had to run out and grab one right away. Again, I apologize for the glare. I am in a bright room. I will return, as I mentioned, and film the 83 for you guys. And again, we'll finish up on Days Gone. The reason I like using this particular screen or scene is very bright white scenery. And it's not dimming. I know you need to sit still, but if you have to sit still and make it dim, then I don't really see it being an issue. But again, I was there for about 5 hours between not filming, but just gameplay, movies, and I was very much impressed with it, especially its upscaling and processing. Colors can look very natural and very vibrant. Alright guys, let me know what you think. Is the A80L something you are thinking of? Is it something that you skipped thinking about the way I did? I think it's a great contender and can be a very good value, especially as the year goes on. Their processing is just next level. It's not just marketing. It's something they do, as again, they work on and they do pride themselves in. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I am Brian from Brian's Tech Therapy. Please consider liking and subscribing. But again, A80L, very much recommended. All around use case, even does pretty well in a bright room. All right, guys, have a great night. Have a great day. Love you guys. Take care.
It's better to burn out than to fade